Hey everybody, welcome to another Facebook Live with yours truly, Alisa Vitti, founder of Flow Living, author of Woman Code, and creator of the MyFlow app. And I am happy to be here today chatting with you. I have some beautiful flowers behind me. And it's because yesterday was my birthday, and I was enjoying a beautiful sunny day in the park and dinner with my husband and hugs and kisses from my daughter. Mother's Day was last weekend, right? So she got me a card, and it had a little fuzzy love monkey on it with a little heart, and then she was scribbling things on the inside, and I thought that was pretty much the best thing ever. So it's been a good couple of days. Anyway, I'm happy to be back with all of you. Sorry for the delay. I was just teaching a webinar on how to have your skin be clear. And so that was really fun, and always hard to switch gears really fast. But I ran out here and got on my little setup over here. So I feel like my camera's a little crooked. Let's see if I can just fix that. Sorry for any disorientation I'm causing. It's a little bit better. All right. So today I wanted to talk to you about working out and cycle syncing, because this is something that's just so exciting, and there's so much interesting research that's coming out to support the things that we've been chatting about. But I want to just have a conversation about, beyond working out. I think really the conversation that I want to have with you today is about like tuning in to your body and ultimately letting your body lead you. So I first want to ask a question, and thank you all for all the happy birthday wishes. Thank you so much. We're doing a really fun thing over on the Flow Living Facebook page, which is as a gift, as a way of showing your love for me on my birthday. I would love to know your story of how the Flow Living work, anything about the work that I've done, how that's impacted you in some way. That would just really fuel my soul for the next turn around the sun. So I would love to hear your story. You can just post it under my little birthday post from yesterday and let me know what's shifted in your life as a result of doing the protocol or really living in harmony with your cycle, doing the cycle syncing. I would really love to hear more of your story. And so I want to do a little survey right now from all of you who are listening, which is, what's your relationship with like working out? Do you feel like you force yourself to do it and you push, and it's always like, okay, or you're in the middle of a class, for example, and you get halfway through and you're like, oh, I'm done, but you keep going, right? What's your experience, or do you kind of just go as much as you can, or how do you relate to your body? So I'd love to know kind of what's happening for you with working out as we kind of get started on this. Because today what I want to talk about is the sort of physiological shifts that occur throughout the cycle that require you to shift your exercise pattern throughout the cycle, and just kind of break that down. And I want to talk about some of the research that's come out, and then I want to sort of share my workout strategies. I'm someone who used to be obese, extremely overweight. I was tipping the scales at 205 at my highest weight during my PCOS, the PCOS chapter of my life, and have been working out pretty consistently, except for the past 3 years. I had such an interesting experience with pregnancy. Little side comment. So I was working out very consistently for about, let me do the math, 16, 17 years. And then, first trimester was just super nauseous all day, so I didn't do much except for walking. And then in the second and third trimester, suffered with such severe sciatica that at certain points, a couple of weeks here and there, I was like in, little Birkenstocks and walking with a cane just because it was so painful. So it was really much harder to work out during. I had like all these, expectations that I would be like, super fit pregnancy, person, and instead I just was forced to do a lot of walking and sleeping. So that was an interesting journey, and new motherhood. Obviously, there's been more movement, but it's still not back to where it used to be prior to my pregnancy. So very just interesting how the motherhood thing can shift your relationship to your body yet again. But yes, so prior to the pregnancy, had been really working out pretty actively since high school. So I joined the cross country team in high school, and then really became a very curious exerciser throughout my teens and 20s and early 30s. And one of the things that I always noticed, and as I started really living the protocol, was like the same exercise day in and day out just didn't work for me. Like there'd be some weeks where I would love to go for a jog, or I would love to do, there would be I remember I was working out at the Gold's Gym in Manhattan when there used to be a Gold's Gym here, and there were a couple of teachers that I loved, and this one teacher, Allie, she taught this amazing boot camp class. It was like you do some step aerobics, and you do all these jumping jacks and drills and running around there. She was so inspiring and wonderful, and I would take that class. And then right after, I'd go take an urban rebounding class, and I would feel great. I would do 2 hours. I would be like jumping out of the gym, like bouncing back to my apartment, having a great time, right? This is in my mid-20s, I would say. And then there'd be some weeks where I was like, oh my God, is it over yet? I definitely don't want to go bounce on a trampoline. I definitely can't make it through a whole hour boot camp. And I would feel really bad. I would feel really like, oh, I'm lazy or something's wrong with me. And as I really dove into the physiological sort of pieces of the cycle and its impact on our testosterone and estrogen and stamina and adrenal performance, I thought, oh, that's what it is. It's not that something's wrong with me. It's that I'm not working out the right way for this particular phase. And so once I started cycle syncing my exercise, it became so much easier to stick with whatever it was I committed to doing that day. And I would enjoy it the whole way through. There's nothing worse, I personally, because I, was always like a bookworm as a kid. So getting into a habit where I loved exercising was something that I trained myself to do, right? And once I did do it, it was like I loved the days and the weeks where I felt like, yes, I'm in the right place. I love this. I'm so inspired. I'm happy to be here. And then I just didn't like the weeks where I was like, oh, I'm pushing myself. And I never really liked that feeling of forcing the issue. And now it's just so great to be able to really feel good every week, and not to judge myself or criticize myself. I'm in my luteal phase right now, so I'll be doing some walking later today, probably after dinner. I'll take my daughter out for a stroll in the park because it's so hot. Oh my God, spring is having its hot flash. You ever notice that about the fall and the spring season? So in spring, there'll be like 2 weeks out of the month, out of the season, where we'll have like a super hot flash. Like, so the last time was mid-April. Now it's happening again mid-May, and just abnormally hot weather, right? And what are we gearing up? What is spring gearing up toward? The hot summer, right? In the fall, you'll have beautiful fall weather, but then you'll have like a week in October and a week in November where it'll be like freezing cold winter weather. Why, right? We're downshifting in the down cycle of the seasons. So interesting. Just like the body, just saying. Anyway, so, I'll be taking her out for a walk, and then we'll both do yoga. Oh my God, can I show you? It just happens to be right here because I'm sitting in the corner. But for Easter, because I'm not going to, what am I going to give her, candy? Why would I give my daughter candy? Anyway, so the Easter bunny, can you see it? It might be upside down. We got her a yoga mat. So because she was all on top of my yoga mat, and all the time. And that's not convenient when you yourself are trying to do the yoga or the Pilates sequence. So I got her own and this little toddler yoga book, which she loves. There's actually a toddler in there doing these different poses. So we'll do some yoga together tonight. You know, flow from the beginning, right? Why should she have to learn this herself when she's 30, when she could just do it from the beginning and just have it that way? So that's where I'm at, and I feel really great about that. You know, and I may continue that same. I may throw in some push-ups and squats tonight as well, just some very basic strength training. But next week it'll be the same when I'm menstruating. You know, I'll be doing some walking, and I'll be happy with that. And then I'll focus all of my high-intensity interval training and cardio in the first half of my cycle, which some really interesting research is coming out. So let's talk about this research, and then I want to take some of your questions. And so start writing your questions, because today is just going to be like very fun, you know, practical. What do I do? What should you do? Let's just dive right into it. Some of the research that's come out is really fantastic. It's basically saying that after ovulation, that during the first half of the cycle, a woman is best, you get the most muscle, how do they say it in sports terms? You develop more muscle tone by doing strength training in the first half of the cycle. And then when you do that in the second half of the cycle too much of the boot camp, too much of that high intensity interval training, you actually jack up stress hormone, and that tears down muscle fiber and puts strain on the heart and causes you to store fat. So you want to think about the fact that the research is, someone's asking a question about a marathon. Oh, I can't wait to dive into your questions. I have so much to say about that. So you want to be thinking about how to train yourself. And let me just back up and say this. If you were to interview any serious trainer to pro athletes, and I always use Olympic athletes as an example. These male Olympic athletes are like, the way they train is very science-based, right? So they eat at specific times of the day within their 24-hour male hormonal circadian pattern, right? They eat at certain times. They do cardio at certain times of the day. They do strength training at different times of the day. They don't do it all at once, and they do it at different times to work with their cortisol and testosterone patterns, to prevent injury, to maximize muscle gain, to maximize fat loss. They do it in a very specific way to work with their hormonal patterns and their circadian rhythm. And all I'm suggesting is that we should also be doing the same thing, but we don't have a 24-hour hormonal circadian pattern. We have we have a 28-day cycle, and so we just simply want to be exercising in a way that honors where we're at, where our testosterone levels are at. Why do we want to do the strength training, mid-cycle, the first few days of the luteal phase? Because that's when testosterone is peaking, right? And this is when you can get the most muscle gain and enjoy doing those types of high-intensity interval training or some basic strength training, body resistance kind of strength training. You're going to do it without injuring yourself. You're going to get the most benefit from it, and it's going to be the most pleasurable to do. So it's really fascinating. And cardio is getting some scrutiny as well. There's a cardiologist who wrote a book. I'm trying to think of the name. His name is Dr. Gundry. And he just came out with some research that's really interesting about the fact that primates that are not in a dominant position in the group will do all sorts of running around, trying to get attention, trying to go get, food and bring it to some other alpha male or female group or whatever the deal is. I have only just recently read this at a very cursory level, but essentially lower ranking primates do a lot more cardio-based activities. And all of that cardio has the net effect of putting more stress hormones in their bloodstream, and these primates die earlier as a result. And so all of this, too much cardio is not good, not enough cardio is not good, but there's a Goldilocks place. And how perfect is it, I find, that no matter what this new research is that's coming out, that if you simply commit to cycle syncing, you won't do too much or too little of anything. You're only going to be doing what's right for you in each phase, and you'll never run the risk of being at risk. So I think that's a pretty exciting thing. All right, so let me just see if there's any other points that I have, because I want to just kind of dive into your questions right away. Obviously, just to say, the MyFlow app, if you haven't downloaded it yet, please download it, myflowtracker.com. It will tell you what exercise to do when, and it will tell you which phase you're in, so you don't have to wonder, oh, which phase am I in and what should I do? It'll tell you exactly where you are and what to do, and that was one of the things I wanted to help you have access to through the app. Okay, let me break down some of my favorite workouts to do each phase of the cycle, and then I'll take your questions. Okay, so follicular phase, this is when I do my cardio. This is when I'm going to do anything that's like a dance class, or I try something new. There are lots of new things I want to try now that I am almost done breastfeeding. Shh, don't tell my daughter. She's down to twice a day, and she thinks that will stay that way forever, but we're gonna get there soon. But there are a lot of new classes that I would love to try, like booty yoga, B-U-T-I yoga. Sounds like a really interesting, fun, dancey kind of cardio yoga class that sounds really interesting. There's all sorts of fun things to try in the follicular phase, and I'm always wanting to try something new anyway that week, so I always use that as an excuse to go to a class and have some fun, and often to do that with a friend during the follicular week. Then during ovulation week, this is when I will like pop in a DVD and do like a high intensity interval training, or do something online with HIIT, or go to a class and do like a boot camp. This is the week that I do that, because my stamina is the best, my testosterone is peaking, and I feel really full of energy during ovulation, so I really try to maximize that with really intense workouts that week. Then in the luteal phase, I will start to just do a little bit more body resistance type of training. So for me, that looks a lot like Pilates types of mat work at home. I'm also less interested in like going to the gym at this time. I'd rather do it at home. That's just me. You could certainly go to a class, or I'll do or I'll do it sprinkled throughout the day. Like I notice my attention span for exercise starts to shift in the luteal phase, so I might just do like a set of push-ups and squats. I'll do like three circuits. I don't have all the best terminology. I'll do one rep, there you go. 1 rep of push-ups, 1 rep of squats, and then I'll do 3 total sets. Like I'll repeat that 3 times, and kind of just do that. I'll do 1 set of 12 of each, and then repeat that a total of 3 times. And then I'll come back at another point and do some Pilates work on the mat. I'll have my daughter do something on the mat next to me, and I'll do some leg crossover kickback things, and work my outer thighs and my inner thighs, and just do that for a few minutes, and then I'll go for a walk, if it's good weather, because I love getting outside. Something for me about walking is like my favorite thing. It's for me the best form of exercise. And then the menstrual phase, when I used to be really symptomatic, the menstrual phase was a time where I would really use like resting as a form of exercise. So I would take extra naps, or I would do something that was just restorative, like some I'd listen to a guided meditation, or I would just do something that felt very calming and soothing to my nervous system and to my body. That would be something that I would do. Sometimes self-pleasuring was a great activity to do during the menstrual phase, just to, again, boost energy, boost mood, but also flush cortisol and get some beneficial hormones circulating. So those are all great activities to do if you're really symptomatic. And then if you're not, when you're back in the flow, you again take walks, anything that feels good to your body. Love yin yoga. Oh my gosh, how could I forget my yin yoga during the menstrual week? Yin yoga is just really getting into your hips, really holding stretches, really using or twisting to work the organs. Just it's much more medicinal form of yoga, and I really love it during the menstrual phase. I mean, it's great all the time, but that's probably one of my favorite forms of yoga. So that's kind of what I do and what I recommend women do, and it follows the different hormonal patterns of the body. We have so much written on the blog about this, so I know you guys all know what we talk about. I think as I opened up the conversation here, this is really about listening to your body. And so, I can say, okay, do this in the follicular phase, do this in the ovulatory phase. But the most important thing is that you begin to commit to this practice of responding, listening and responding. So do you feel good? Right, like let's say you were exercising right now, you on your treadmill watching this. Do you just look at the clock and you run till the clock is finished? Or do you listen to your body and say, oh, something's shifted, I don't feel good, I'm gonna maybe switch to a walk on an incline, right? I would much rather you get into that practice of doing that, and you'll start to see, you'll be able to more easily get access to, oh yeah, I feel that my phase has shifted, and the app will tell you, yes, in fact, your phase has shifted, but I want you to feel it yourself and not just have it be told to you. And I want you to have that experience of like noticing, oh, my energy's different today, and what do I feel like doing today? I want it to come from a place of your body leading through desire. Your desires are healthy. If your desire is to go out for, like, my desire this morning, I got terrible sleep last night. My daughter woke up in the middle of the night, 3:30. We did not get a lot of sleep last night. So normally I would be out in the morning taking a walk in the heat when it's hot. I would do it first thing in the morning to avoid like the strong sun and the heat and the mosquitoes later at night. But this morning, that was not the better thing for me to have done this morning, was to sleep a little bit, because that's what I needed. So I think it's really important to just do your best to try to listen to where you're at instead of pushing yourself through. All of that stress has real impact on you. I was thinking about a recent stressful experience that I was going through. I mean, here's what it was. Getting this app launched, the last few weeks leading up to launching an app, so stressful. And I remember saying to my husband, like, God, I am really noticing how sometimes this stress can really feel. I was feeling more tired and just, anxious. And I thought, okay, so let me slow things down. We delayed the launch. As soon as I was feeling those stress responses, I was like, okay, got to slow it down, got to get back in my flow here, got to really be as patient as I can. And so anywhere, practicing it with exercise is good, practicing it with your business is good, really honoring where you're at and the timing that you're in and the pacing that you need to go through is really what it's all about. All right, so let's take your questions. My last thought here, and then I'll take your questions, is what's the benefit of doing this? The benefit of exercising this way is for you to achieve the results you want to achieve by working out, from more of like a biohacking perspective. So like to work smarter, not harder. I mean, I know when I was first trying to lose the 60 pounds that I ultimately ended up losing, I was just trying to run every day, and I would notice that the weight loss was very, very slow. And when I shifted my exercise to cycle syncing, me maintaining this weight loss for over a decade has not been an issue. And in fact, I mentioned that, I had gained a lot of weight during my pregnancy as expected for my body, lost it all, and with very minimal exercise that you would think, given what all the magazines say about how much you have to work out postpartum, like all the celebrities do, didn't do that. Really honored my flow and watched my body recover, right? So it always works. It's really always about if you give your body, if you nourish your body and care for your body the way it is designed and the way it wants, you will get these results. So I just want you to feel better. I want you to get the result. I want you to have the body you want. I want you to have the energy you want. And I don't want you to feel bad and self-critical and self-judgmental all the time about, oh, you're not working out enough or something's wrong with you or whatever. I think it's really important to honor a different process because that is your body's process. All right, that's it. Let me take your question. I'm going to start scrolling back up to the beginning. Okay. Okay, someone's asking me this question. Wait, hold on. Okay, Shanna Menton. Great question. It's not really a question. She's just saying that she has no motivation to work out the week before your period because all you want to do is sleep. Okay, so you're in your luteal phase. You're having a lot of symptoms in your luteal phase, one of which is extreme fatigue. You shouldn't feel that tired during the luteal phase. Now, while you're healing, I would say sleeping is your exercise activity for the luteal phase, but when you get back in your flow and you address the root causes that we address in the monthly flow protocol and program, that you're going to have plenty of energy in your luteal phase. You're not going to feel like sleeping. That should be an indication to you that something is off that you need to address with diet changes. So that is a really good thing to notice. Taylor, I burn out on activities after a few months. I'll try something and like it for a while and quit and then don't have a way of exercising anymore. Yeah, I think this is a really important point, Taylor. If you... it's funny, it's just making me think of like when I fall in love with a new song, I listen to that song like a zillion times. And my husband, I remember when he watched me do that, like, when I was back when we were just dating, he was like, how can you listen to that song over and over again? I was like, I don't know, I love the way it makes me feel. I can't stop. I want to feel, like listening to it, I want to keep feeling that feeling. And then I would get sick of it and like, never want to hear it again. So anyway, it just reminded me of that when you say that. But with exercise and sticking to an exercise routine, and if you were like me, where I wasn't a very physically active kid and I had to train myself to be in the habit of moving my body, this is what's so great about cycle syncing your exercise is that you're never going to get bored, you're never going to burn out on the same activity, and nor should you be doing the same activity. It's not even good for you, and your hormonal patterns is not going to help you achieve the results and the fitness level that you want. So cycle syncing your workouts is a way for you to prevent that burnout, and you're going to be cross-training your exercise. You're not going to get injured, you're not going to get bored, and you're going to have more outlets that you're going to be pulling in as resources so that you're not without a way to exercise. So I really want you to download the MyFlow app and really give it a try. Okay. Yes. Let's see here. Okay, Caroline Dassey. I follow the protocol and I practice yoga regularly, and I notice my body having difficulties during my luteal and menstrual phase. I tried going to a hot power yoga class during my luteal phase, and that, I'm assuming, why can't I see more? Oh, and that was a big mistake. Yes, okay, and then that's it. I can't see any more after that. So yeah, that's all I got. Okay, so yes, Caroline, I want you to cycle sync here. Okay, so hot yoga during luteal and menstrual phase is definitely not what you want to be doing, I would say. I would really talk more about, so Bikram yoga is really about increasing the detoxification. It's also a way for you to do more intense yoga and intense poses by heating up the muscles, so you're increasing your flexibility by having the muscles be hot and loose. That's really what it's all about. That's only really safe to do, in my opinion, during the ovulation phase. I would only suggest doing more yin restorative yoga second half of the cycle, and that's it, period. So I would, that's a really kind of an important thing to do. It isn't about whether or not you should do inversions as much as it's about, the intensity of the strength component. And also, I mean, that hot yoga, you're losing a lot of fluids, and during the luteal and menstrual phase, it's really not what you want to be doing, right? You want to really nourish your body as much as possible, not deplete your body, because your body's about to do this big thing for you about building all this progesterone, building the lining of the uterus, and then going through the process of shedding that. You don't want to deplete yourself those 2 weeks with intense exercise. So I would shift your routine like we've been talking about. So follicular phase, ovulatory phase, do your more intense yoga, your more vigorous Ashtanga, fast sequencing, fast changes through the asanas, intense, inversions first half of the month. Second half of the month, your luteal phase. If you want to increase your energy, really look at doing a lot of twists, and triangle poses, and things that really wring out the internal organs. And then yin yoga, you're holding poses for a lot longer, but they're deeply restoring the body. That's what I would recommend, Caroline. Timea Kiss, what a nice name. You must have people just loving you all the time. So, mwah to you. Since I read your book and used your app, everything changed. Thank you so much for all your work. It changed my life. Oh, love hearing that. Thank you so much. I want to know more about your story. Please on the Facebook page, please tell me what exactly you had happening before and what symptoms were resolved. I want to know. Okay. Casey Fitzgerald, feeling super strong during your luteal phase this past week. Good. That's a good sign. So in your luteal phase, during ovulation, you start to have an increase. You have like a little surge of testosterone, makes you want to have sex because that's when you're fertile. And so, nature is wanting for you to optimize your fertility, your conception odds. You're going to have natural libido being stimulated by testosterone during ovulation, but you also get a secondary boost the first half of the luteal phase. Remember, it's 10 to 12 days long, and most of us only associate the PMS phase with the last 5 days of the luteal phase when the hormones are starting to be on the decline. But in that first 5 to 6 days, you can feel still very energized, which is why I don't break it into just 3 days of ovulation and 10 to 12 days of luteal phase. I give it 7 days each because you still feel a little, I almost call it like the post-ovulatory phase. In that luteal phase, you still feel kind of like you're still in your ovulatory phase. So if you're feeling really good, your testosterone's performing the way that it should be, keep doing your high-intensity interval training, that's fine. And then as soon as you feel that switch the workout. That's what I mean about listening to your body. If you're feeling good, you're doing the right stuff. You're working the protocol and it's working for you. Yes, Sarah, with thyroid issues and chronic fatigue, this is so important. Adrenal fatigue, thyroid fatigue. This is why cycle syncing is such a saving process for working out. When I was going through adrenal fatigue a bunch of years ago, I was going to say a decade ago now, I could not, it was 30 minutes only that I could do of some sort of moderate workout. And then at that 30-minute mark, I would feel myself run out of adrenal reserve. And it would be like I would hit the wall. You don't want to hit the wall. So sometimes I would dial my exercises back down to like 25 minutes. Don't hit the wall. Don't push yourself past that point. So not only do I want you to work out a little bit shorter amount of time, 25 minutes, 30 minutes max, but I also want you to really do the cycle syncing piece to not put any additional strain. Because anytime you're working out too intense for the specific phase that you're in, you're going to be relying on your adrenal glands to offset what estrogen and testosterone may not be doing for you in that phase. So this is why it's so important to switch up your working out. Oh, cool. Competitive kickboxer and cycle syncing for the past 2 months, but wasn't training. Now you're getting back into training and you're so curious. I love this. I would love for you, just given that you're in a position as a competitive, pro-am, athlete, do the experiment for womankind. I'm not a professional athlete, but I know that this works for women. I would love for you to apply it to your specialization and see for yourself that you're in a position to train differently. Think about how, again, I shared this before, any male Olympic athlete, they cross-train all day to prevent injury, to maximize muscle gain, strength, endurance, whatever. I'm asking you to do the same thing, but just over a 4-week period. So you will be working on your flexibility, working on your strength, working on your speed, working on all the things that you need to work on as a professional kickboxer, your core, all of that, your cardio, your heart rate, but you won't be trying to force it into one day. And watch what happens to your body. I'm like so excited for you. I'm a little turned on. I want to know what happens over the next 2 months when you start training like this, and really commit to it and see what happens. I think you're going to be at a competitive advantage to other people in terms of muscle tone, less injury, flexibility, strength, speed. I think it's going to be huge for you. I don't feel passionately about that at all. Okay, let's see. Bea is working out with a vitamin B12 deficiency. Which cycle is best? I'm not sure what that question means, but if you have a vitamin B12 deficiency, it's really important to address that dietarily, because that's going to affect you the whole cycle. You're going to feel very kind of not depressed psychologically, but your whole energy output is going to be dampened, depressed, suppressed. That's what I mean by using that word. So you definitely want to bring that back up and address why you have that vitamin B12 deficiency. I think the flow protocol would be really helpful for you to do that. And then you definitely want to keep cycle syncing your workouts, because you're not going to be doing things that are going to be more fatiguing for you at the wrong phase of the cycle. Okay, Inga, you do fine in classes, but have a huge problem on your own with discipline. Yeah, motivation. I think that's great. I think cycle syncing helps me with my motivation too, because like I said, I'm not a natural, you know how some kids, like you just see them, they're like athletes from birth, they come out like kicking a soccer ball. Like I was like reading. I was someone who picked up a book at 3 and taught myself to read. That is a fact. So, you know, I'm one of those, right? And so getting into this idea of like being motivated to work out was something that I had to teach myself. And cycle syncing is what I lean on to stay in touch with different motivation. I'm not motivated by the same things, or the same things don't motivate me each week. So when I feel like doing something new or going to a class, that's what's motivating me. Like, it's not the workout that I'm looking forward to. It's going to the gym, going to the class, and doing that whole class gym thing. That's what's motivating me. And the workout is like the benefit, right? It's like an activity, right? During ovulation, you know, it's very easy for me to work out because I've got all this energy. So I love just, again, I either do a class, it's social, or I might take a friend and say, hey, let's go do this like really intense class together, or let's go do a workout in the park or something. Then during the second half of the cycle, where I'm like a little bit less motivated, let's say, I want to do things that feel really pleasurable. So like I said, I've been in the luteal phase this week. I've been just taking walks and doing yoga with my daughter. So, and on my walks, I phone a friend. I have so little time to talk to people, you know, so I like, that's my motivation, is to have time to talk to my favorite cousin, or a friend that I haven't connected with in a long time, or a colleague. And, you know, I was chatting with a friend, Carrie, the other day. She's giving me all this great, you know, her kids are older, and I was just getting some perspective from her, and it was so wonderful. And that was my motivation to go for the walk, right? And so I let my, you know, what I need emotionally during each phase of the cycle be the motivation that I'm pursuing, right? That desire is what leads me to the activity of movement, right? I organize the activity of movement around, I mean, because it all perfectly lines up, right? Every piece of the cycle matches the activity that you want to be doing. So trust yourself a lot more, right? It's not a fight, right? You know, Inga, it's not like you're lacking discipline. No, I think it's that you haven't been taught to, well, not that you haven't been taught, you've been actively taught not to listen to what it is that you want, what you desire, what you're craving right now. You know, I've been really craving talking to friends this week, and like, I can't wait to get out to the park and put my little earbuds on, put my phone somewhere at a safe distance from my body and talk to someone. You know, like that's what I've been craving, and the walk is like a perfect 1 hour time to do that. Or since I moved to this new neighborhood, I have a friend who I've known for years in the city, but now we live 5 blocks apart. We get together and go for, like, it's so fun. You know, can it be fun? Yes, it can. So I think let's not look at it as needing to be more disciplined. I think we need to look at it as being more connected to what we feel we need and our desire and what feels good in our bodies. Like, you either have to make the choice. I feel like it's like just two different realities. Like, you got to choose the reality where you're prioritizing you feeling good in your body all the time, or you're choosing the reality where you're fighting your body all the time. I feel like that's an obvious choice, right? But it's not one that is obvious to make, because I mean, gosh, I was raised in New England. It's like the puritanical work ethic is like everything's a struggle and suffering is divine. I mean, it's, you know, it's all this like sort of kind of biblical stuff there. So, you know, cycle syncing and really aligning with this whole process for me has been like a reclamation of being able to choose feeling good all the time. And that's an amazing practice to adopt. So, okay, I feel passionately about that. Jess Duda, with your question about partnering with some fitness stuff, love that idea. Let's invite that in. That's a good one. Jess, you're the best. I just want to say you are. Let's see. What should you do if you never feel like exercising, Sophie? Well, you got to find some connection to movement, because it's really about and let me even dial it back. So I don't know if you're a mom or not. For me, over the past 2.5 years of being a new mom, a first-time new mom, I just literally yesterday over my birthday dinner with my husband was saying, you know, this is the first week and a half to 2 weeks where I feel like I'm no longer in survival mode as a new mom. I feel like I have things in a sort of organized place, and I feel comfortable with our routine, and there's more space for me, much more space for me. And I was looking at some of that as, you know, whether it's motherhood or not, we as women are pretty good at self-sacrificing, right? And like giving up all of our free time to dedicate to work or taking care of family or being a parent or whatever it is that you're doing. And that to me is like why we never feel like taking care of ourselves in general, because we just want somebody to take care of us, right? And so it's kind of like you're having your inner child moment when you never feel like exercising. Like what I'm hearing in there is like, I want somebody to help take care of me, you know. And I think that one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn throughout my process of healing is that the path to becoming a woman and moving out of the state of girlhood and into the state of womanhood is about embracing the reality and the opportunity that you have to become your own mother, right? So as you grow up, right, and when you're a little person, you're totally dependent on your mom. And then as you become interdependent, really, you have the opportunity to mother yourself. And that's a privilege that comes with age and wisdom. And I think that's a really big rite of passage that we don't talk about. And I do think that not embracing this concept of you're responsible for you, you're the mother for yourself, that you can create just that perfect relationship that you want, it's a huge opportunity, and it will help heal why you might never feel like exercising, because it's never about the exercise, you know. And again, for someone like myself, this was really what was true for me. So I'm sharing my experience also with coaching so many women. It seems to come down to this. It's like a mothering thing, this dysfunctional relationship we have with our moms, the mother wound in general. We want someone to take care of us. I want you to take care of you. And cycle syncing is and it was my, I had a challenging relationship with my mom for years, and you know, all sorts of issues with the mother wound and all of that. And cycle syncing was and the feminine energy, you know, so into my masculine energy, do the same thing every day, da 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 da. And sort of mapping my life and my self-care practice onto the cycle has been just this very practical way to see that I'm mothering myself just the right way each week of the month. And it's like, it's a relief to know that I have that structure there, so that I'm always giving myself that ideal foundation for self-love and self-care. So just giving you a little, I'm sort of seeing beneath the question there, hoping that's helpful. Okay, Chelsea, I've seen your question a few times. If you're a marathoner, how do you train while syncing with your cycle, since you have to run every week? I'm going to challenge you as well, Chelsea, to think about training differently. So anybody who runs, I mean, again, it's funny because I don't like running now, and it's not the ideal exercise for my body type, but I did run in high school. I was a cross-country distance runner and did love it for a period of time. And so, yes, there is something about running every day, but there is also something about cross-training. So you could be doing your more extended runs during the first half of your cycle and plan to train for distance during the first half of your cycle, and then plan to train for for speed and strength in the second half of your cycle, right? So you can push yourself in different ways with the running. Then I could also push you a little bit further to think about different exercises that would support your running. I mean, any Olympic athlete that's running, that's like a track person, right? They're not necessarily running every single day. They're doing stairs. They're doing like strength training for quads and glutes and knee stabilization exercises, and, you know, doing all sorts of things to strengthen and lengthen the muscles in the ankles and the calf. And you could break it down into a much more cyclical exercise, holistic program for you that supports you being the best runner, as opposed to what works in the male physiological pattern, which will just run every day. If you run every day at the right time in a male 24-hour pattern, you're going to get the stamina piece and the cardio piece in, and then do some strength training later in the day, and boom, you've got a perfect training routine if you have a 24-hour pattern. I'm just asking you to map that over your 28-day cycle so that you get the benefits of cardio training, but also strength training and flexibility and protection, injury protection, prevention as well. I think you can turn your training on its head from the masculine appropriate training sort of routine to one that's female-centric, and I would encourage you to challenge yourself to do it, because it's going to change your performance. You're going to be able to get better results with less strain on your body, because you know that you just listen to your body. You know there are certain times of the cycle where you're not having as good of a run, so don't ask yourself to do these super long distance runs during that time. Do a different kind of workout, and then see when you do the distance runs how that other workout improves that run later in the month. And then let me know how it goes. Okay. Sarah Hess, another question about thyroid adrenal issues. Should you be more cautious about certain types of exercise like high intensity interval even during the phases? No, you don't have to worry about it. You're just going to do it for less amount of time, like I was saying before. So if you have thyroid adrenal issues, exercise is still important, still healing, still beneficial, but you want to just do it 20 minutes, or you could even do, what's that called? Tabata training, where you do just like 7 minutes. I think there's even a website like the 7-minute workout. Just do that. And if that's all that you can do for now while you're healing the thyroid adrenal piece, then that's good. But movement is good for the body and healing for the body, especially from an adrenal standpoint, because it's flushing cortisol, but a little bit, not a lot. Okay, Mara, you're like yelling at me with this all caps. What are my concerns about vegan diet and PCOS? Are there any foods that I absolutely don't recommend not to cut off? So I will just say that I don't have any issues with you wanting to be vegan. I'm just saying simply that depending on what's going on with your hormone levels, you may need to use animal protein to help you build more hormones, because hormones are made out of proteins. And if you have gut issues, the vegan sources of protein may not be as bioavailable to you. And that's my problem with it, is just that you can absolutely get yourself healthy enough to sustain a vegan diet 100%. But you got to do the work, the foundational work, to be healthy enough to be in a place where that is working for your body. All right, I know that wasn't about exercise, but you were really passionate about your question, so I wanted to answer. Okay, Rania, lately you're having trouble sleeping a week before your period starts, and when you don't sleep, you won't want to work out. What can I do to help with sleep? Okay, there are a ton of articles on the blog about insomnia. I would simply say two things very quickly, because it's a little bit about exercise here. If you're like this screen that we're looking at right now, my laptop, I talk about this all the time, the blue light phenomenon is a real thing. The blue light from the screen is suppressing your ability to produce melatonin. This, with hormonal changes during the luteal phase, and if you're in sort of after 35, when perimenopause begins, you could be more susceptible to bouts of hormonal cyclical insomnia. So, yes, it's a drain on your energy. Yes, it might affect your ability to want to work out. I would still go and do some light working out, like a walk. It will boost your energy. But at the same time, you got to invest in those like orange glasses and do all the filters on your computer to get the blue light out, because not having enough melatonin, it's one of those master regulating hormones, big problem. And then the second thing is micronutrient deficiency. So I would definitely take some magnesium and cut the caffeine out altogether. If you're struggling with insomnia at all, you cannot have caffeine, and you just got to get real with that. So cut the caffeine, take some magnesium, blue light blocking sunglasses and filters, and that should be a big help with your workout consistency. Okay, Catherine, so you really like lifting weights. That's awesome. And it lifts your mood. I do some yoga here and there, and then a weekly cycle, like bicycle class during follicular and ovulatory weeks. I wish I could see the rest of your question. Can you type in the second half of your question? But I'm going to try to guess what it is. Are you hurting yourself if you're lifting weights in the second half of the cycle? No. In fact, strength training in the second half of the cycle is great. Luteal phase is great. And if you want to do some strength training that doesn't have a cardio component during your menstrual phase, and you're feeling that energized to do it, then I would say you're in optimal flow, sister, and rock out with your weights. Just listen to your body and maybe think about, how you want to do that strength training in a way that really works for you. So it doesn't have to be the same every time, is what I'm saying, is just think about that. But I think other than that, it sounds like you're in a great place. Best time of day to work out? Love that question. For men, it's definitely in the morning. First thing in the morning, they've got that super high dose of cortisol, super high dose of testosterone. It's like perfect. For women, it depends on where you are in the cycle. So I would say follicular phase, afternoon tends to feel the best. Ovulatory phase and into that first half of the luteal phase, you could do a morning workout, no problem, because again, your testosterone is a little bit elevated through that phase. Second half of the luteal phase, midday, afternoon, not in the evening, because you're going to be more tired. And then menstrual phase, I would say like middle of the day, where you have natural high levels of cortisol in the middle of the day to give you that extra boost of energy. Okay. Bea has a question about, if you have a sedentary lifestyle, when would you advise to begin a new routine? Follicular phase, of course. Anything new in the follicular phase. Roxana, such a good... See, this is what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for the app. You are welcome. I used to do the Tracy Anderson method every day, and only after using my flow, I understood why I just couldn't keep up with it all the time. You were finding it way too intense for the luteal and menstrual phase. Of course, that's all. I mean, I know of her program. It's like a lot of like kinetics, dancey maneuvers. I think you should use her in the first half if that feels good, and then find another teacher, another workout type to do, in the other two phases. I think that would be really great. But I love that you're having that experience where you're listening to your body. That's what it's all about. Oh my gosh, it's already 3 o'clock. Okay. Let's see if there's any other good questions I can wrap up. Okay, a lot more questions about marathon training and gaining weight. Ooh, bar classes. That would be really good. The bar classes would be really good for like luteal and menstrual phase. Okay, let me just say one more thing about like gaining weight and like marathon training, triathlon training. I worked with a bunch of clients years ago where I started noticing this phenomenon. They were training, you know, normal women, and they all of a sudden decide they're going to get fit, and the way they're going to get fit is to train for a triathlon or something to that effect, or the marathon or half marathon or whatever. And they would gain 20 pounds. And it was like shocking to them, but not from a hormonal standpoint. It made a lot of sense. They were forcing themselves to do the same kind of workout every day. And this is sort of mapped out onto second half of the cycle. If you're doing all this super intense cardio second half of the cycle, you can find that you retain water, your weight. You know, if you're measuring yourself on the scale every day, you're like, why do I feel heavier? So I think it's really important to notice that is a real phenomenon. There's some interesting data to back that up as well. So again, cycle syncing, your workouts. Listen, I get that there's like a short circuiting that's going to happen as we talk about this. Someone was saying this is a great topic. I've never heard anyone discuss this perspective before. I mean, you got to keep in mind that any exercise stuff, theory that's been marketed to you, or just, it's all predicated on the male physiological experience. Like, well, just do this every day. And if you're doing the same exercise every day, that's good. Because if you have testes that and are kicking out those hormonal patterns, then that is true. But if you have ovaries, that is not true. And since when has any exercise theory, sports physiology been researched, based, predicated on our unique female cyclical nature? I've never seen it, which is why I started putting this together for myself, because I was looking at the hormonal chemistry and saying this day in and day out same exercise is, not only does it not make sense based on the science of my body, but it can actually hurt my hormonal balance. It can actually damage it. So I get that there's like a short circuit where you're like, but why can't I just run every day? Shouldn't I be able to run every day? Sure, you can, but if you're noticing that it's giving you symptoms like you're getting bloated, or some weeks of the month you feel really bad, then that is definitely something you want to listen to and say, okay, I can't run this week the way that I was running last week. I have to do it differently. Maybe I'll do stair climbs. Maybe I'll do something else. Maybe I'll train for the marathon in a different way this week. This is what I'm just saying. All right. Let me see if I have... Yeah, you get bursts of energy the week after your period. Yeah, that's your follicular phase. How can you fit it in around that time of the day? Oh my gosh, I mean, sedentary lifestyle is slowly killing everyone. So yes, get up, do some wall squats, walk up and down the stairwell inside your office, like go pretend to go to the bathroom and like just walk up and down a flight of stairs like 10 times, you know, do whatever. Exercise doesn't have to be fancy. I remember there was a story in the New Yorker or New York Times years ago. I never forgot the story. This woman, like, you know, like a glorious, like one of those old women who have like beautiful silver hair and just like very regal, you know, in her life. And she lived on Upper East Side, fancy schmancy building. And everyone was like, how, you know, she lived to be like 100. And how do you stay so beautiful and fit? And, you know, well, every day in her little, you know, kitten heels, she would walk from the lobby of her building to the top in the stairwell. And it was, you know, it was like a building with like 20, 30 floors, right? And she'd just do the stairs. She'd go up and she'd go down once a day, every day for her whole life. And I was like, how elegant is that? You know, now every single day, you know, I don't like the same thing every single day, but I just love this idea that you don't need to make your exercise and your fitness complicated. What you do need to do is like be like a ninja and try to find ways to do it. So if you are having that burst of energy, don't wait for a class. Go run the stairs in your office building. Okay. Da, 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 da. Let's see if there's anything. CrossFit. Yeah. Oh, CrossFit. All right. It's almost 3:10, so I'm going to answer like 2 more questions. I definitely want to talk about this CrossFit question. How do I say it? Where do I start? Okay. You know what I'm going to say, I think, because I'm always, if nothing, I'm consistent. So I just don't think that the same workout every day makes sense for the female physiological experience. So what I would think is that someone really, curious, like I would say to you what I have said to the marathon runner, what I have said to the professional kickboxer. I'm going to say to you, if you're like a pro, CrossFitter, how can you select different, the workout of the day? Could you get creative with the workout of the day and make it more cycle appropriate, phase appropriate? I'm going to leave that question with you. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. Ooh, exercise makes you hungry. That is a side effect of exercise, actually. And a lot of dietitians will say that this is why diet is more effective. Dietary changes are more effective than exercise in terms of weight loss, because you do burn calories and then get hungry. It's a paradox. So this is another reason why I like cycle syncing, because you're not going to be pushing too hard with cardio during your luteal phase, for example, where women tend to have more cravings for carbohydrates, and you will end up not putting yourself in a position, calorically speaking, where you're going to feel like you need to binge carbs to compensate for this high intensity workout that you just did during the wrong phase, right? So that's a real phenomenon, and it's a great question, and I think it's important to keep leaning into the cycle syncing to help you offset that. Okay. People are asking me about nutrition before and after exercise. It's really just about blood sugar stability and replenishing electrolytes. Honestly, I think if you're eating adequate amounts of protein and you're staying properly hydrated, some people in the intermittent fasting community will tell you that you should be able to do workouts without any pre or post workout nutrition. So I'm a little skeptical of this whole basically anything that's about to eat protein after a workout is really about building muscle, lean muscle, which should in theory help you burn more fat. But just like people years ago thought you had to eat rice and beans together to get a complete protein, we then learned that that's not actually accurate, that you can eat the rice at one point and the beans at another point of the day, and your body is much more intelligent and will make that protein complete regardless of you eating them at the same time. I think similarly, I think it's really just about making sure that your blood sugar is stable going into the exercise. So I personally don't like to work out on an empty stomach, because I find that tanks my blood sugar too much, and then I am craving carbohydrates afterwards more than I would naturally. So I like to do my workouts, 30 minutes to an hour after I eat a meal, depending on the intensity. So if I'm just going to go for a walk, 30 minutes after eating, no problem. If I'm going to do like strength training, high intensity interval training, I need like an hour after, then I'm good, because in my meal, if I'm following the flow protocol, which I am, there'll be protein, there'll be fats, there'll be veggies, there'll be some very slow burning carbohydrates, the perfect setup nutritionally for a good workout. And then after my workout, before I think about, let me eat something, I'll think, let me have some water with lemon and a pinch of pink salt to recalibrate my electrolytes, and then assess if I'm still hungry. And if I am, I might just have a little bit of fat to help offset that. All right. Okay. There's so many great questions. We're probably going to have to talk about this again. So much fun talking with all of you. Here's what I'll say. The most important thing that you're that I want you to take away from this is that your body, your specific body, is the guide, contains the map, contains the roadmap, contains the code for you to follow. Okay? And your cycle and its patterns give you this framework within which to observe your unique body operating within that framework and its particular issues that it's dealing with and what works for you. So sometimes this organ between the ears wants an answer. What should I eat? What do I do? What's the right thing? What's the right answer? You know, we were all conditioned to do that in school, right? What's the right answer? You raise your hand. Your brain wants to really give you that and wants to know it and file it away. But when you're living in the feminine energy paradigm, it's about getting the context and really looking at more of the systems approach as opposed to the singular approach. And so in this situation, I want you to be thinking about what is your body's symptoms and information presenting to you, and how should you use that to shift the choices of your exercise that week. The best way to start experimenting with this is to follow a cyclical-based exercise program, because it is most physiologically appropriate for you if you have a female body. Within that construct, I want you to observe your body and do the experiment, especially for those of you who are really locked into I have to run every day, or have to do CrossFit every day, or have to do the same thing every day. I want you to challenge yourself, because you're such a pro as it is, to shift your workouts week over week and see for yourself how your body responds. And then we're going to do a follow-up, I think, because this is such a juicy topic. Anything where we start interacting with our bodies, it's so charged, right? I mean, I feel it through the interwebs here. It's oh, what's going to happen? And there's a little fear and excitement, and there's that charge. And so I think we need to really keep on this conversation. So we'll definitely talk about this again. And yeah, this was a really energizing call today. No, I did the call before, Facebook Live. So I'm really glad that we had a chance to talk about this. Let me know what additional thoughts you want to hear on the next one that we do around exercise. And I'm just sending you guys lots of love. Thanks for joining me again for another long Facebook Live session. I'm sending you and your ovaries lots of love. I'm excited to hear your results. All of you with your special questions about how you're going to change your workouts based on your cycle, please email me, post on the Facebook page. I want to know how it's going. This is a conversation that you're having with your body, and a conversation that we're having in the Flow community. So let's all share our results with each other. Until next week, I'll talk to you then. Take good care. Bye.